Hi, my name is Lisa Fohey. I'm the Director of Supply Chain at Children's Hospital of Wisconsin. And what I'd like to share with you today is what I've been learning as I study the two disciplines of project management and change management, in hopes that some of that might help you drive more successful projects. I'm going to introduce at a high level the constructs that both of the disciplines bring to a project. I want to highlight where they're similar and show you where they each add additional value. As supply chain leaders, we have a unique opportunity to affect positive and productive decision making in our organizations. We do that because we're in a position to bring data to our business leaders. We are able to help them understand the total cost of ownership for projects, and we are able to bring the lessons learned from the previous initiatives by asking really good questions and making sure that the right folks are involved. This graph depicts why I think it's really important to add change management to any project management protocols that you have. The black curve represents a typical project with the typical project management protocols, and you can expect to see a performance dip before you get to your future state. The green curve represents the elevated results that we see when we add change management to those protocols. The initial dip is lower or less, and you get to future state faster, and you are able to sustain the results. But change isn't easy. Humans are really not wired to seek conflicting or contradictory perspectives. We really are looking for everything to support what we already believe to be true. To appreciate why I think it's worth your time to invest in inserting the change management principles, I think it's important to identify what I define as program success. So obviously you have to hit your objectives on time and under budget, and you have to make them stick, because if your teams go right back to doing what they used to do, you haven't succeeded. But I would propose that a truly successful project would also not leave the proverbial dead bodies in the wake, and that you would be able to apply the lessons you learned in this project to the next project. So this is how I see how all of these disciplines are interrelated. The program success starts with a clear and inspiring vision. When you layer on project management, you get the on-time, under-budget piece, and when you layer in change management, you get the sustainable adoption. One concept that the discipline of change management brings to the table is called the Strategic Readiness Assessment, and I strongly recommend that you and your team actually write out the answers to these questions before starting any project, especially one that's interdisciplinary. Why do you want to do the project at all? Do you have the support from leadership? Can you share your vision in a way that inspires other people to achieve it? How will this impact your organization and the individuals? Does the team have the skill sets to achieve the vision? I think you can see that if any of these aren't in place, you're much less likely to have a successful program and initiative. Get these things in order before you go any further. I use a threshold of 70%. If I don't feel like I have 70% buy-in, then I don't proceed with the project in its current form. So let's go back to the high-level overview of the two disciplines. I'm going to share information from the Project Management Institute and the Association for Change Management Professionals. Both of the disciplines break projects up into process groups, and they're pretty well aligned. AHRMM includes a readiness assessment in the initiating phase, and then they both plan, execute, and complete a project. Then both of the disciplines break down the project by the type of work that needs to be done. PMI calls these knowledge areas, and AHRMM calls them subject groups. About half of these are essentially the same. Both call for a control of scope. They emphasize the importance of a comprehensive communication plan. Both advocate for a risk assessment and a mitigation plan if you have any big risks. PMI has one for the actions related to actually managing the project. They call that project integration. They also break resources into more defined categories like time, cost, and human resources. AHRMM puts a stronger emphasis on sponsor engagement and stakeholder management, and they call out plans for developing skills, documenting your metrics, and driving sustainability. Then both of these disciplines map each of the work areas across the phases. So here I'm showing you the PMI grid. Across the top you see the phases of the project or the process groups, and along the left-hand side you see the knowledge areas or the work groups. And in this example you can see that project integration or project management has tasks in all of the phases, and something like time management or scope is mostly, the tasks are in the planning and monitoring phases. The AMCP approaches this more like a flow chart. So that's the construct that both disciplines adopt to achieve project success, and I believe that if we use this as a checklist, we can use this data even without knowing all of the principles and having read the handbooks. So use this as a list to ask yourself some key questions. Is it big enough or complicated enough to be worth spending time on a comprehensive communication plan? Do you have the sponsorship you need to drive the compliance that you need to be successful? Do you need to spend some time thinking about what could go wrong and maybe have a plan B in the wings? In part 2 of this series, I'm going to walk you through each of those areas and give you some starter questions to ask. And then I'm going to share with you some of the actions that are recommended by PMI and ACMP if some of those answers to those questions is yes. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you in part 2.